So hello, today I'm at St Thomas's Church in Bradwell-on-Sea in Essex, and I'd like to talk to you about the history of the village and the church itself. So Bradwell-on-Sea is 5.5 miles from Southminster and 19 miles from Chelmsford. The village is located on the Dengie Peninsula. The peninsula is rural and most isolated part of mainland England. Now Bradwell-on-Sea's population is around 900 and it's only 8 metres above sea level here. The history here goes back a long way, even before Neolithic man and woman roamed these parts. We move forward to the Roman period, around 230 AD. The Romans built a fort called Afona, just 2 miles from St Thomas's Church, and it's likely it would have been a small settlement, Bradwell-on-Sea as well. It's possible that this was a trading post for the Romans. 286 AD, the Roman commander Marcus Aurelius Caraccius declared himself Emperor of Britain, and he held the Roman fleet along the coast here at the Saxon shore. He would have had in excess of 500 legionnaires stationed at Afona. Now, the main road itself, or the main Roman road shall we say, was actually from here straight in that direction, so that would be east, and it's more or less as its original position. It's likely that the veteran Roman soldiers after retirement may have established businesses here whilst marrying local residents. Now, a Saxon settlement was also established here before, during and after the building of the Saxon shore fortifications of Afona. And St Ced, the monk from Lindisfarne, himself arrived here after 654 AD, and he would have spent time around Bradwell, possibly walking where I'm walking now. And in the 8th century, the famous monk Bede describes a city called Winchester being around the area of Afona. In 1066, Bradwell Quay, as it was known, was owned by Aylward the noble and one freeman, and by 1086 the tenant-in-chief was the powerful Bishop Odo of Bayeux. Now Bishop Odo was William the Conqueror's half-brother, and he was Lord of the Manor here. The Lord of the Manor here was Swain of Essex, and also a man-at-arms. Now the area at that time had 10 households, 260 sheep. It had 1 fishery, 1 church, and a third of the church lands. So it's most likely this is the church in question. Now just notice that over this wall is the original pond that would have been part of the manor probably, which is in there. So it gives you an idea. The evidence is still there from the past. So in 1528, a Thomas Abel, who was chaplain to Queen Catherine, was given land here in Bradwell. I believe he was arranging peace or something with the Spanish, and as a reward is given land here, and there's some connection to this church as well. Now Abel, he actually challenged King Henry VIII for his divorce to Queen Catherine, and he wrote a book, and for this King Henry had the books destroyed, and Abel spent time in the Tower of London. He was released, and after 1 year of freedom, he was again imprisoned in 1533, and he was executed 2 days after that of Thomas Cromwell, who had been executed. Now, Thomas Cromwell was the chief minister to Henry VIII. Thomas Abel was executed in Smithfield, and I won't divulge the tragic death that he undertook. It's quite gruesome, but he was a brave man. Now move forward to 1901, a long way forward. There was plans for a railway line to run from Southend to Bradwell, but it was never completed. And maybe that was a good thing, because it's kept the charm of this place. Now, World War II saw the construction of RAF Bradwell Bay, and 2,000 troops and airmen were stationed here. I counted on the list 26 squadrons and units, including the Czechoslovakian 134 wing of the RAF. Now, long-distance escorts, such as the Spitfire, would take off from here and escort bombers over to Germany. Now, by 1957, Bradwell A, which was a nuclear power station, begins to be built on the land of the RAF Bradwell Bay Airfield. In fact, Queen Elizabeth herself officially opens the building a year before. And by 1963, the plant is open and it produced 300 megawatts of electricity. If we move forward to 2002, Bradwell A actually closes, the reactors are shut down. And just 2 years ago, Bradwell B, a new power station proposal, starts. Now, I'm not sure how these locals feel about that, but I guess some are for it and some are against. I did see a placard. Now, if we look at the church itself, like I said, it's St Thomas's. It's a 14th century church. But it was built on an existing Norman, possibly Saxon church, and even Roman, who knows what's underneath. Now, if we start with the West Tower, this was built in 1743 on red brick. It's got a cancellated top. It's 10¼ feet square. Now, in the bell tower, there's 6 bells. 5 of them are cast by Robert Catlin in 1744. And interestingly, Southminster's church also has Catlin bells, similar amount. And Robert was from St Andrew's Foundry in Holborn in London. He cast bells for 30 years. Now, during the 18th century, there was considerable rivalry between the church towers of England. By 1848, 3 of the bells had gone missing. Now, after World War II, another bell was added to remember that horrific war. Just want to show you the north wall of the nave. Find it interesting. You can see the honest work of a masonry builders. See the Roman brick, just about 2 inches thick. You can easily spot them, and they're really quite distinctive colour. And you've got Georgian bricks. You can see it's all spliced together. So you've got roof tiles thrown in, anything that they can get their hands on. and there's some stone head which is fairly worn. And this is an interesting aspect of the wall. And actually this is Georgian, but you can with the layers of bricks and stone, but you can actually, this is very similar to how the Romans would build Orfona, by layering it with bricks. So the nave itself is originally 14th century, but it's been built on over with the 18th century. Measures 65 by 25 feet. Now in front of us we have a porch, and I've lost the details of this, but I've got a feeling this is either 14th or 15th century. Incredibly old and quite a rare one in Essex. And you can see the old tracery there. Well, I dare say some of this is more modern, but you can see these original oak posts, the dowels. You can see where panels have been replaced. It's quite easy to see. As you can see how it's weathered. Remembering that the salt air from the estuary will be flying across this town. It's quite close. So it's weathered really well. And in there you've got, looks like they may have had some sort of statues there at some point. I'm surmising now. Going on this side. I just wanted to point out that there are 10 heads, stone heads, all the way along, carved into the top of the nave wall. They are original 14th century heads, so they're probably likely from the original building. So we enter the porch. Again, you can see how they use dowel pins and various craftsmanship. This looks like a fairly modern door opening. It's probably Victorian. We enter the nave itself. It's going to change hands. You can see some of the medieval paintwork there exposed above these king posts, I believe they are. You know me, I'm a sucker for a stained glass window, so I'm not going to walk past all of them. And again on the north side, fine detail. Victorians really could make a glass window. And yet another one. Might as well get your money's worth. This is fantastic, this one. It's almost done in the pre-Raphaelite style. So this font is, focus that in, is 14th century. So it's when the church was rebuilt. And 4 stone heads, which is most unusual. You've got a tongue sticking out on this one. On the south side, most hidden side on there. See the interesting haircut of the time. And on this side, we've got a lady. And again, centre part, and every detail's great. And you can see it's been repaired. It's probably been dropped. Guessing. Pulpit here. Beautiful pulpit, unusual design. It's 19th century, so it's not so old. It's got cruciform and dogtooth carvings. You've got green marble column, very expensive in the day. And you've got red inset. And then underneath you've got another type of marble. We can go up here. These old stones. This is on to the original pier, the 14th century pier. I think what's happened is this is the original pier up to here, and this is restored, probably Victorian period, but you can clearly see the difference. And this will be the priest or father wood. Full view from here. Oh, we are now entering the tiled floor of the chancel. 37.5 feet by 19 feet. Again, this is the, let's have a look, above, that is the original 14th century arch. You can see how high it was originally with the painting there. So you can see how they've reduced it in height. This organ. Built in 1840 by Theodore Charles Bates of London. 2 years later it was erected here. There's a list of donors on a piece of paper inside, and it includes the rector, the curate, church wardens, many individuals who are named, so I guess they gave a fair bit of money, the village blacksmith, and many more that were not named. It was restored 1 year before World War I, and again 2 years before the Great Depression or the Wall Street crash of 1929. And in the swinging 60s, it got rewired. Now, we look over here, we have a couple of, these would have come off the floor, off the stone slabs, which have been removed. This is 1606. And this lady here has got her considerable wealth, I guess, to have this. And you can see in the old Latin there, which I do not read. But what I can tell you, this is Margaret Wyatt, 1526, figure of a woman in pediment headdress. Now, when I looked up 1526, the history, I found William Tyndales. He translated an English Bible, or the English translation of English, or a Bible reaches England. In October, a Cuthbert Tunstall, who's Bishop of London, he collects all the copies in his diocese and he burns them. So he was not a happy man. Now this plaque here this is for John Sherman, who was rector of the parish in 1666. And we can see his name here. It's all in Latin, but you can see some Shermans there. Now, in the year 1666, the royal court returns to London as the Great Plague of London subsides. Right. And in September 1666, the Great Fire of London breaks out in Pudding Lane, and it destroys St Paul's Cathedral. Also, Sir Isaac Newton uses a glass prism to split sunlight. So now we look onto the east window. You okay? Sorry? No, not at all. And then we've got some antiquity here, so I'm not sure what that is. And over in the corner, this is where the consecrated wine and bread will be kept. And then over here, a carving of sorts. I'm not sure this is dedicated to, but it looks like it's all made in fine oak. We should go outside. You're all right, thank you. So up above you have the crown. I'm not sure what period this will be. The Royal Coat of Arms. Let's have a look outside. And then you can give donations, as to most churches. Helps with the upkeep. I should walk around. Again, it's a lovely sunny day. And you can see those stone heads up there. And it's a lovely sunny day and spring's returning once again with a few days of where it's not so spot on, but it's coming back now. Like I said earlier, this is a very quiet part of Essex. In fact, it says it's the most remote part of Essex, in the most remote part of England, actually. It's quite incredible. Now that red building, which is in front of us, I have a feeling that might be the original lockup. I'm not 100% sure. Don't quite know why there's loads of dent. Oh, these marks must be from an overzealous masonry, or mason, should we say. Seems to have, I don't know if he's marked it. Seems to have dents all over it. It's quite unusual. Never seen that before. Maybe he was marking his work. A lady here did tell me earlier on that there was, the airfield is very famous from World War II, and there's a very interesting memorial. It was actually a plane, they've actually used a plane as part of the memorial. You can see where they put little bits of flint in there. So just like any other building, it depends on the builders, what sort of builders you get. This is fairly new. Now, I want to talk about the memorial in front of us. We've done a full circuit now. This is a sea memorial. It's a simple granite obelisk, and it's in honour of the men who served during World War I. It's 112 listed on here. You can see it there. Now originally they would have been marked in red if they were deceased and black if they survived. This was donated by Clement Parker of Peaks Farm. Very nice of him. Now we're going to go outside. I want to finish up by showing you something that I found very interesting. It's actually called the mounting steps by the south entrance. Now these are from the 18th century, and they were actually used to allow a lady to mount a horse by climbing the steps and by holding on to the iron post and the ball to steady yourself. So here we go. So if you can imagine, the horse would be pulled up here where I'm standing now. Look at that, isn't that incredible? So I'm going to give that a go. So, be like this. It gets you high enough to just hold on there and put yourself over the horse. And then you could just ride off over there. I've never seen this before. So I'd like to finish up by saying that Bradwell-on-Sea's church, St Thomas's, has joined up with St James's Church and St Lawrence's Church of Tillingham as one benefice. They've got one priest, they share the priest. Also included in this group is St Peter's on the Wall Chapel. St Peter's on its Wall Chapel has its own ordained chaplain, which is just down the road there, about 2 or 3 miles. So today St Thomas's carries out baptisms, weddings and funerals, school events. You've got mother and toddler groups. They've even got bell ringing practice groups, social groups. I even read they've got something to do with a pop-up cafe, along with the flower arranging group. And they do actually do a pilgrimage here from this very church to St Peter's on the Wall Chapel. I did see a video on YouTube where this wall, all the way round the perimeter, there were people sat on it across all this grass, and they had a band and so on, and then I think they all went off to go for a walk to the chapel. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that. Thank you very much.